Welcome to Lessons from the Library. You know, these days there is a lot of discussion about the second coming of Jesus Christ, and it really shouldn't surprise us. As a matter of fact, this has been a topic of discussion for over 2,000 years. If you go back as far as the book of Matthew in chapter 24, Jesus' own apostles asked him three very specific questions. One of those questions happens to be about his return. We are going to look at the second coming of Jesus Christ, and we're going to look at it from the viewpoint of the book of Revelation. Now, there are some books that you can begin to study, and you can look at chapter 1, verse 1. It might not be a good idea to do so, but you could, and maybe come up with a very good understanding of what the book is about. The book of Revelation cannot be done that way. There are some things that we must know at the very beginning if we're ever to understand what the book is about. One of the first things that we need to know, and that is what type of literature that is contained in the book of Revelation. You and I would not treat a narrative passage the same way that we would treat a passage of scripture that contained poetry. You and I would not study a book of prophecy the same way that we would look at a passage of scripture that deals with commands that are written to men. Therefore, what we have to do is we have to understand fully the type of literature that is contained in the book of Revelation. And of course, it only takes a brief reading to understand that it is filled with figurative language. Another thing that we need to know about the book, as well as any book that we're studying, is the fact that there is an author, there's an audience, and there's a purpose. For example, the book of 1 Corinthians, it's written by Paul, and the purpose is to deal with the divisions that are taking place at Corinth. The book of Galatians, again, written by Paul, it has a purpose, and that purpose is that they are trying to justify themselves by the law. Well, the book of Revelation also has an author. It has an audience, and it also has a purpose. The author, he identifies himself as John. The audience is the first century Christians, specifically those that are being persecuted, and very heavily persecuted, I might add. The purpose of the book is to assure them of, if they will remain faithful, that there is going to be a victory. They are going to be victorious. The book of Revelation is about victory. Now, armed with those things, knowing that it is figurative language, knowing just exactly who the author is, who it is written to, and very, very importantly, the purpose of the book, then we can begin a study and realize that everything from chapter 1 to the very last chapter, from the first verse to the very last verse, is going to fall into that framework, and therefore that we can divide it correctly. I hope you'll join us the next time when we can be together again and begin our study of the book of Revelation.